Hey, sis.
Hey, sis.
On today's episode of She Blaze, the tea is hot. We're following up on Texas hemp. Las Vegas cannabis businesses are risking it all. And the West Coast is on fire and literally burning down the cannabis industry.
Ooh, girl. I mean, first of all, where do we start? I'm kind of taking it in. This week has been charged with so much emotion, so much craziness going on in the streets, and literally the cannabis industry burning down at the same time. So I cannot wait till we get to that. But first, I'm going to jump into my high of the week, and I'm always very, very excited to shout out when my friends are doing things that are fabulous. We are both representing the Culture Campus this week as my high of the week, the statement apparel that speaks volumes. The reason why I wanted to represent the Culture Campus is because one of my best friends is the founder. Her and her daughters are the genius behind the Culture Campus, and I have plenty of teas, ones that everyone literally stops me on the street. This is their signature "Not Your Next" hashtag tea, and I thought it was just an important way to kind of maybe kick off this week, because there's been so much conversation around Breonna Taylor and her murder and sort of the injustices that we experienced this week with sort of what I've been calling the performative indictment of the one officer for missing and hitting the wall. So, these type of teas allow me, I'm in a lot of meetings, a lot of Zooms with a lot of important people, to share what I feel without saying exactly how I feel. And so, I think it's important for us to keep driving awareness. This tea is only $24.50. She's got plenty. I have sweatshirts. I got a few different teas. You got it in white.
I do have it.
Yes, I know that she's also now expanding to other colors. Rep your set type colors. I'm AKA, so I'm definitely gonna be looking for some of my pink and green things. But yeah, shout out to the Culture Campus. That's my high of the week. Again, allowing me to say sometimes on meetings the things that I need to say, like freedom ain't ringing loud enough when I need to say it. And this week, I don't think freedom rang loud enough for Breonna Taylor, and we're still going to be continuing to watch that case as it unfolds, and we're continuing to fight, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I definitely feel like they could use a little bit of passive aggressive energy back, because we get a lot of passive aggressive energy as people of color in this country. And ultimately, I feel like a meme that I recently saw where it's like, we weren't expecting justice, but we had hope for change. And so just keep up hope. And I love the teas. I get stopped all the time. And I can't wait to show y'all what I got in store for this fall, because it's officially fall. It's about to be Croptober. But right now, my high of the week, I need to chill. Okay. Obviously, tensions are high. And sometimes your girl just needs to relax. So Santee tea, a herbal tea blend, is what I got in the mail. And I am excited to put this on some hot water and just chill. It is mixed with lemon balm and it's actual hemp flower. So it's going to really relax your girl. Hopefully supplement some of the 15 cups of coffee that I've been drinking. And I'm quite excited. For a half an ounce, it is $30. And this is a half an ounce. So it is quite this. Listen, I get less of an ounce in a real bag of cannabis. So go ahead, smoke this up. This is drink this up, sorry. And this is a black owned tea. It is by Green Heifer Farm. She is black owned. You actually have done a panel with her a while ago. I don't know if you remember, but yeah, I'm excited to get into it, y'all.
Absolutely. Yeah, sanity gives you back your sanity. And so I'm happy to share that with you, sis. And I can't wait to see what you think. I love Green Heifer Farms. And again, shout out to a Black woman-owned farm. And, I think that she's based in North Carolina as one that, we definitely want to have as a spotlight here. But as always, we are just trying to share how we're managing. I'm coping with some of my teas. You're definitely right.
Yes,
You're definitely also sharing in that, and then now we're also getting a sip a little bit of tea. Speaking of tea, You know we got to get into it.
Yes, and these hot topics are literally burning my tongue because ultimately I wanted to start on a high note. We were kind of heavy, so this hot topic is for us. It's kind of a win. This is when we can have a louder golf clap because Texas, yes, Texas basically is allowing smokable hemp all the way until 2021. Now, in a couple episodes, we reported that Texas was trying to ban smokable hemp and vape products. Well, the hemp industry was not feeling that, and a few people gathered together and sued the state. And during the suing the state, they actually did a temporary restraining order on the actual law. And now the judge extended it until 2021 to them to really dissect what's happening. The judge actually believes that they have a case that this is a violation of their human rights.
But listen, we're starting to hear the right things in some of the most difficult states to overcome. So I want to shout out that this is more than a golf clap. If we're able to get precedent on the books, recognize that this means that we can go back to other states where flower bans in the hemp and in the marijuana world have impacted how well the state performs. So we're not just talking about patient rights, we're also talking about improving the business and the economy of that cannabis industry within the state. This impacts it. Now, the folks that have put this in place are the owners, right? They're the ones who went, they did their research. They understand that the flower is very important as its own, product out the door. And they're saying, hold up, we prepared to be in the market and we need to make sure that we're able to leverage that research and the amount of energy and money that we put behind this. And I think that she's right, but I'm glad that she's using the human right, because the fact of the matter is, that's a struggle right now. The medical market in New York just allowed these very dusty, almost dust flower-like products to the market. And then I guess somebody was upset that they got that. A patient complained, and I'm like, who are you? Why are you now deciding what every other patient must deal with? The nearly 100,000 New York patients then lost that dusty flower. Although it was dusty and everybody agreed, it still was flower. And just the impact that made shows you that the flower is important. Imagine when you're cultivating it well. Imagine when you're supported by a regulatory system that lets you do that. And so this is the first step towards that, for sure.
I agree. And it's still some more wins as we are finding out in Texas. Their public safety has to understand that they do not have the capacity to even do testing on the hemp flower that is found. Now, this is important because you've said it many times during our high of the week that ultimately you cannot tell the difference from hemp flower and actual high THC flower. So seeing that is a win too, if you know what I'm saying, and you know how to get away with some things and change some packaging real quick. It is gonna be okay. They're really time to stand up to your state because they do not want to lose money. They're losing money getting sued by their civilians.
Well, you're hilarious because you're basically in some ways that shows our age. You're advocating for folks to figure out how to get around the system to some degree with this new hemp flower. Listen, I ain't mad at it, sis. However, what I say is use the precedent to make the flower, medicinal medical marijuana flower, not being used for criminalization. And we already have that in Texas. The Austin Police Department made that change, and they will not be pursuing those type of quote unquote criminal infractions, even though it's still technically against the law in the state. So I think there are ways to take this win and roll it up into what you say lobbying is the new protest, and go talk to the right people about why that needs to be a law across the board. You can't use the smell of any type of plant to incarcerate anymore, whether it's hemp or whether it's marijuana. And oh, guess what? By the way, you can't tell the difference. And that's what we really are using as the precedent.
Absolutely. And hopefully it gives people a little bit more bravado to sue their state, sue their
Yeah.
city. We've seen it happen right now. There are lawsuits federally against it. But what happens when you take it on a smaller local level? We need people that are actually in law to be willing to do this for free, to be pro bono until we get our money from the state for a basic human right that they've taken away.
You're right. I mean, again, she used that word, and this is the last thing I'll say, is that is really what is going to be the case winner for all of these things, whether it's at the federal level or the state. Folks have to be refugees, essentially, to get the right treatments. And that's unfortunate. And that's something when we're supposed to be the United States of America. That should not be the case. I should not be going into another state and having a completely different health care experience because of your cannabis laws.
Yes, and I'm glad you talked about cannabis refugees because it moves me to our second hot topic about a Texas man that was a cannabis business refugee to some degree. He invested his money into a Washington state cannabis business. He was promised, allegedly, he was promised a lot of things, and just to find out, it actually doesn't go with their law. And that's what happens when you have to go to another state to do some basic stuff. Now, this man is allegedly saying that he invested $50,000 into different Washington state cannabis businesses. He was promised shares of their interests as far as being a part of like ownership. He was promised to be able to take a little bit more of a role within the company. And he won his coin back with interest, baby.
Well, it sounds like he was already starting at a disadvantage because he can't do this in his backyard. So he's going from Texas, which, as we just talked about, this is illegal, to Washington, which is one of the mature markets, and mature meaning it's been around longer. But that doesn't mean that it acts mature. And so one of the things that Washington state has is a residency requirement for ownership of licensed businesses. A lot of states started off that way. We reported in a deep dive on Maine that they started off that way, and they recently lifted it because it's not necessarily in their best interest when they have that as a requirement. Again, at a state level, it's revenue, business, not necessarily in the best interest. But you know, I don't know. I'm both empathetic and at the same time, I'm a little bit like, okay, well, where was your due diligence? You know, where did you research? Because this is something that if you pull up just the website that the state you could go get your application in for licenses, it says all of this. Did you take a look at the that legal aspect before you sign on a dotted line? So I definitely want to caution people that as you are investing in companies, recognize that there are different laws state to state, and until this is federally legal, and we're talking about marijuana-based companies, not hemp, and until this is federally legal, you'll run into this issue every time that you want to make sure you have an attorney, unless you are one yourself, really fine tooth comb it, right? Go down that line with your pinky and your nail, like
use the dictionary.
Yeah.
There are law dictionaries, believe it or not, people. I use it all the time. There are law dictionaries. But
yeah, so this could have saved him a lot of grief, but at the same time, you know, $50,000 is a lot of money for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and in multiple companies too. I don't believe that they were able to get a license, that company, and really not know that that was a requirement. You know what I mean?
Well, they are saying that they never granted him any interest. They never promised him shares. They never promised him profits, despite his $50,000 investment. So basically, they're saying we never did this. And honestly, until he read the contract, they may have never promised it on paper. But I do think that in the cannabis industry, sometimes your words don't hold weight, and a lot of people's words mean nothing in this industry. And when you're new into the industry, because this actually happened years ago, this happened in, I believe, 2016. When you're new into the industry, You don't know these things, right? You're hoping that everybody wants the same goal and you're ready to do the right thing and get a little coin in it too. And he didn't fine tooth the contract. He didn't read the contract. He didn't read between the lines, and now he's suffering and he's suing them, honestly. And really, people have the case to sue the state, because why are residency laws required so harshly? Like, why can't I have 1% of the company if they need my $50,000?
That's true. I mean, I think residency laws come into place because of way big companies have moved in places that they're not. You find that you have predatory big companies that come in and buy up smaller ones and control the market. And so I think it's a little bit of it has to be balanced. One thing I really struggle with in the cannabis industry is a lack of that, which is funny because the cannabis actually helps the endocannabinoid system, which creates balance. So we need a little bit more homeostasis in the industry on the business and the regulatory side. There is none. It's almost like, oh, we want all vertically integrated. That means all seed to sale, seed to solution. And you have to be able to do that, which is incredibly expensive and large scale endeavor to take. Or it's like, no, we don't want any of that. We want everything to be built in a very like Voltron or Power Ranger kind of way, each part of the supply chain. We need both. And most markets actually operate in these ebbs and flows of both based on what's controlling. Innovation controls smaller. Innovation usually means smaller businesses are controlling. And then price point dropping and being reasonable usually means that bigger, more vertically integrated businesses are controlling. And we want both in every industry. I mean, we can't talk about none, whether it's fashion, beauty, like certainly right. Even in this case, we want both. And so I struggle with that aspect of it. But I really do think that we've had our own experience. So I'm glad you pointed out that this was 2016, because the industry has evolved. It has matured, partly in case because the East Coast has come on so strong. And there's certain things just on the East Coast, we don't play that.
You wake up with a horse in your bed.
What? Okay. So, we don't play that. And so we've kind of led over into what's going on in the mix on the West Coast. A lot of the thing where you're saying, your word doesn't hold water is so true. We ran into that and had our own issues in 2016 and the beginning of 2017. And if you want to check that out, you can actually find it as the first blog post for the WeedHead.com. It was the reason why I decided, I was like, yo, I need to be the WeedHead, because people thought that they were going to act funny. And I needed to let them know exactly what I could be working with, as I had really just kind of come in stealth-like to support, like you said, do the right thing. You never know, but the biggest thing that I keep coming back to is due diligence. Everybody has to find their path, and maybe it's been a little bit crazy for some folks, but you can tell from looking at a background check, you can tell from checking references, you can tell the measure of someone's what they're saying, the value of it. And so just encourage our industry to do better, keep doing better, but also do your due diligence to avoid these type of clownery and tomfoolery type situations.
Hello. And as a fellow POC person, I'm pretty sure this cannabis company is going to get more investments. I mean, we see it all the time, like with Men still being able to raise $20 million, even though they are burning down with the rest of the West Coast to a certain degree. And so, like, people, if you have this type of money, start looking at other companies to invest it in. Don't always go for what you think is, oh, this is going to give me a quick investment. This is, they know what they're doing. They have a lot of experiences in the cannabis industry. Look for people that are new to the cannabis industry, but has experience in real other like main industries.
I think it's a blend of both, right? We've seen people come in from other industries and they sound crazy because they do not know the industry well enough and some of the nuances. But then, at the same time, look for the folks who've had some long-term experience in the corporate and business sense, because, without it, your business is not going to probably thrive. That's in building your own team, but it's also in investing and doing the due diligence as you're starting to look at what does their team look like. And if it don't pass your sniff test, it doesn't matter how fantastic the opportunity seems, return on investment seems. This green rush is a long haul. It's not a rush. It is really a marathon, and we're still in the opening and the beginning stages of it.
Right. Maybe we got to change the name. Maybe we shouldn't call it a green rush. Maybe we should call it a green marathon or something, because, honey, this is, you're right. You know, almost 5 years in the game. I'm like, geez, I'm going to get gray hairs because of this.
You're going to have gray hairs in this industry, girl.
Well, good to know. And as we jump from the Washington market, I want to get into Las Vegas, Nevada market. Season 3, season 2, we talked a lot about Las Vegas. Actually, around this time last year, we were in Vegas, and we saw that their market is a lemon, honey. It looks shiny and bright. It's got all the little Vegas lights on it. But when you open that hood, child, that's a lemon under there. And they don't got many lemon laws. So basically, we're finding out that their compliance board are about to revoke some licenses. They are getting into the nitty gritty. Now, a couple seasons ago, we talked about how their regulating department was doing all kinds of funky stuff. And so they did a couple moving and shaking. And now the Cannabis Compliance Board is regulating pretty much all of the market. And they're taking it serious, as they are really looking into these cannabis companies and assessing if they are compliant.
Well, it's about time. And we've watched literally the building of the Nevada market, specifically Vegas, and this crash and burn. I mean, fast, y'all. Like, I mean, they literally just opened the market. Part of the work we did in 2016 was in Arizona. There was some in Nevada. Nevada legalized. Our businesses are based there. The office got set up not too shortly after that. Around 2018 is really when the market opened, right? What happened? They lost so much money because they ran out of cannabis in 2 weeks, y'all. In 2 weeks, because they only decided that they was going to give alcohol distribution the licenses to carry cannabis around. We're so afraid of this plant, we losing money so bad. If I was Las Vegas mayor, whole finance people, whoever, I would be mad. I would be mad as if, because we could have done this so much better. Then on top of that, you have a corrupt regulatory office, and you know how I feel about that given what I do. And then the product itself is overpriced. It is so dry most places that it's not worth it. And I feel so bad. So many people come in. I remember getting off a plane and somebody was like, I just got back in from Colorado to visit. Can't wait to go. Where's your favorite dispensary? And I was like, honey, I don't know if I could list a favorite dispensary, but here's the ones I would avoid, because you're going to pay the tourist prices. So this is just me being more reminiscent of, if you don't know what Vegas has been through, Nevada has been through, and why we're calling it a lemon, it's all of these things, right? Not just in the regulatory aspect, but the businesses, the licenses, and how they've been set up. And then at the end of the day, what's happening with the flower on the ground. It's a struggle, and it's a struggle to stay afloat. And for the folks that are doing it, more power to you. But there's about to be a shakeup, because it's impossible. And I think that this is what this compliance board is probably thinking, to think that a whole industry was stood up with a relatively corrupt regulatory, leadership in place, and not seeing that all the way through to the actual businesses that got licensed. So they're doing cleaning house. This is what happens. And it's almost necessary.
Yes, they are cleaning house, and they started cleaning it quite quickly, because they're even citing companies all the way back from 2018. Now, if you want to know the name of the companies, definitely check that link out and read for yourself, because, we like to get shady, but not too shady. We still got roots in Vegas. Yeah. Okay. And so some of the things that the compliance issues are coming up. Some employees are taking home products that were supposed to be destroyed. Now, if you hear how their compliance law wants you to destroy them, I might take home some little raggedy tree I trimmed myself. You basically have to put the flower with bleach and kitty litter. Who made that up? Whose idea was that?
You right. Ew. Really?
Chill. Yes.
Yes, I probably would be thinking I'm saving the plant from a terrible existence or destruction. Oh my
right.
God.
You could just put that in some like compost or something. Like, what? Come on now.
Okay.
There's so many other ways you could have did that. You could have put that in some topicals, anything.
Yes,
so,
that is not good for the environment. You're absolutely right. More blunts and stuff. Jesus.
Right. And so they are also not storing cannabis properly. Now, depending on the different flowers, concentrates, and edibles, they are not doing the right thing with that. And you could be fined. I mean, especially because I have gotten some crazy looking wax from the dispensary. So, and when you check them about it, because actually, shout out to More Blessed Stuff, because he has checked a few companies about how he has received the wax out of the dispensary. They like to be like, well, it's the dispensary fault for not storing it properly. So that's quite interesting that they're now being fined. They're building violations as well with their air systems, air ducts. They have to be fixed and the air filters have to be changed if it's not changed in enough time. Their paperwork has to be entered in immediately. You're finding companies are not doing that. They are doing from hand and not to computer, because some of this stuff they don't have technology for. Also, we're finding out that some of this stuff is falling off the back of the truck, which I've been told y'all was happening. Okay. And they're being fined for that too, for inventory being missing during transportation. So when companies they're being fined, revoked licenses, and barred from the industry for a certain amount of years based on the different violations they've done.
I'm sorry. I get real sensitive about these situations, because I feel like, while these are big companies, and in many ways, some people are purposely doing this to cut corners, purposely doing this to participate in the illegal market and the legal market. They are really trying to literally double dip. I also struggle with the fact that we're talking about fines and licenses revoked when there's so many consumers that have spent years and years and years and years in prison for a dub in their pocket. We don't recognize when we make possession a more criminalized activity than essentially what I feel are business entities, so groups of men, mostly white men, that are making decisions in their best interest and not so much in the interest of the people who are consuming. That should be more than a fine, because you put in my life at risk. You know what I'm saying? That should be criminal. I struggle with how we treat, the legal market entities that are doing really crazy things, in my opinion, as compared to the average Black and brown folk that's just walking around and you got a good, real loud bud on you. We have a broken system, and so that's where I glazed over when you listed these compliance issues, because some of them I get it. You expect and you see that there's shrinkage in every single retail industry I've ever been a part of, and again, that is I'm Target to THC, so even good old American Target got folks that's taken and lifted off of the floor. So that doesn't surprise me. How you deal with that, how you train for that, that's sort of what I think the cannabis industry has to be more vigilant around. There's best practices already in the retail industry on dealing with shrinkage. The storage, we've been saying that every time I've gotten flour that's dry as I don't know what, every time I've gotten something that supposedly was just harvested, we had some issues with the dates on the harvest. There's a lot of mismanagement. And if you were in the regular consumer packaged goods world, this was P&G or Unilever, we would be having all types of lawsuits, all types of them. And so they're really banking on the fact that they feel like this is a vice, or there's a certain type of people who are utilizing that won't actually do what More Blunts and Stuff did, which is call up the brand and being like, yo, what? Because if you got something damaged from Target that was P&G made, you can call P&G in order for you to get that resolved. And guess what they do? Resolve it, plus give you more coupons and products so you could keep buying. So we got a problem so many places that I wish we could, take and learn from established industries if we want to be taken seriously. So, there's a part of me that feels like we got to do better. And I think that that's something that this is all left over from a poor regulatory, office, and that needs to be fixed. But we also got to recognize that when we're doing and seeing these things happen in the industry, it shouldn't be taken so lightly, because they're impacting the consumers on the back end at the end of the day, and that should be illegal and criminal.
You listen, I'm the queen of the refund. Give me my money back, because that's not how that was supposed to look. Period. So I definitely had to call out Vegas for that, because we have to see some changes within the industry. And you're right. I definitely think we need to really call them out on it. Call them out and tell them, the big companies that know they should be doing better, they should be going to jail too for some of these things as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we got to move on to our main topic, because you really have been on my ear about making this a topic. You've been wanting to talk about it for weeks and weeks, and because it's just been so much uncertainty, I'm like, girl, I need a little bit more articles, information. Nothing's getting out. Well, the wildfires and cannabis are insane. And I'm not just talking about one wildfire, one particular state. I'm talking about all of the West Coast was on fire. And these are cannabis states. These are the states that are trailblazing cannabis. California is known for, like, everybody got the Cali pack. I don't want that. Oregon, it has some of the literally a lot of flower, like a surplus of flower. And Oregon is still one of the main destinations for cannabis, because it's just one of the first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cannabis. What I call mature markets are on fire. And you're right. I've been in the thick of it because I am part of the Oregon regulatory framework. And it's hard for me to not recognize when the industry that I'm overseeing is on its way is suffering, and then on its way to potentially more suffering. We're in the beginning of harvest season, just about, and every single mature market has been on fire. Do not sleep on the importance of outdoor sun-grown cannabis, and don't sleep on the fact that not just the fire impacting actual crops, and so those cannot be harvested at all, but the impact to the crops that live, but were literally blanketed underneath a orange sky and various soot and particles that are being put on it. I'm very concerned. And I've been saying that on the record. I'm saying it here as a scientist and as a patient. There are some things that I'm really waiting to see how it's all going to work out in terms of the regulation around with the outdoor grown flower for this upcoming season.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said it. Croptober is literally a thing on the West Coast. I mean, and we are days away from October. Like, we are counting down the days. So it is going to be interesting to see how the sun-grown cannabis does. It also kind of sets a precedent, because this is around the time that we start hearing about more and more cannabis strains for the season. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, the most fire, high time cup winning stuff usually comes out around this time. So what is going to happen? Also, let's not be pretending like there's not indoor grows that will still be affected too, because if we're talking about air quality, and then people have compliance issues on their different air systems, that could still affect your indoor grow. So we really have to look deep into it. So California is where I wanted to talk about next. First, the Emerald Triangle, we know, is the leading cultivation area of the cannabis industry.
Mhm.
And it is saying that in all of California, 900,000 acres have been damaged or blackened due to this. Now, people are saying it is estimated the size of Rhode Island, which is not that big. You can drive through there in a couple of hours, but ultimately that is still the size of a state that is being affected by wildfires.
Right. Yeah, no, that's scary. And I think More Blunts and Stuff says it right. The trends for the year, price trends, the terpene trends, the even THC percentages, those trends are all set in the October time period. And as we get ready for Emerald Cup, which happens at the end of the year, and like you said, those high times that happen in Q4, we know we're seeing the best flower out there. And that's still dictated largely by outdoor grown. I mean, like you said, indoor grown is important and still alive and well, but there's some impact as well as far as the air quality. I really am also concerned about the fact that at one point the sky turned orange for multiple days over many areas of California and Oregon, specifically noting that, the sky is blue from chemical molecular reactions that are happening. When it turns orange, it means that another chemical reaction is happening. And so what falls from that, as a molecular biologist, that's what's real scary to me. I mean, I've been saying literally for the last few weeks, like, I need to learn how to grow. If home grow isn't important, if you don't think so, then you should think so now, because if you are in one of those markets and you are reliant on the actual market to do, the legal market to do what it's supposed to do, and the illegal market, then you want to make sure you know how far they were from some of these incidents of wildfire, whether they were under an orange sky, and what was the thing that they used to supposedly clean up their plants. You know what I mean?
Oh, talk about it. Well, hold on. We can't get into that too quick now. So Colorado has had over 100,000 acres affected by it. It's still claiming that the outdoor crops are doing good. It's reported that in Oregon, more than 7 cannabis businesses have literally reported total loss of repairs. I mean, like, when it's total loss of repairs, if you've ever crashed your car, God forbid, and they total out your car, that means that the damage is more than what the car is worth. Mm-hmm. And so basically they're saying that the damage happening in Oregon with these cannabis businesses are more than what the actual business was even worth. Yeah, that is freaking scary. That is freaking scary. And it is still like a lot of uncertainty, as you said. It's uncertainty for not just the prices and the flower, but it's being reported that the health of the workers are having uncertainty as well. A lot of people are migrant workers, and they come specifically for that harvest season. And so a lot more workers were on the site than ever before because of Croctober, because of being an essential business due to COVID. So having all these migrant workers, no insurance, what happens to them? They're also reporting a bunch of droughts, specifically for California, because I just read a report that a couple of these states are supposed to get rain soon, but there are going to be droughts. So what happens when you can't give water to your indoor grow too, so there's a lot of uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty. And I understand why you were hesitant. You were like, I got to collect more information, and more information continues to roll out. We're definitely going to probably have to have a part 2. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that we're just scratching the surface here. It's really deep. So 7 reported losses in Oregon. This is something that we've been talking about in the city of Portland, because this is a supply chain impact. If you have an issue at the beginning of your supply chain, it makes it very difficult if you're the retailer at the end to make sure that your shelves have what you need. So we're not just talking about total losses on those particular businesses, and if they are vertically integrated all the way through, we're also talking about any of their customers will not be able to get any resources from them and will need to go elsewhere. This is assuredly going to impact the price of flower, which for some people in the Oregon market, they may think this is a good thing because the prices have been really depressed there, but they have been steadily rising with COVID-19 making it a essential business and the record months that Oregon has been having as a state. So we're actually seeing us on the upward trajectory, but now it's going to be one of those like, off the hill is like a roller coaster. It's still not what you want. You don't want the prices to go so steeply that we start to, again, diminish the diversity in the industry, who can participate and the like. And so I want to just make sure folks are clear that although there are some things that are uncertain, regulatory testing, let's get into that. There are some things that are certain. Total loss at the beginning of a supply chain almost certainly is going to impact any other touch point that node or beginning part of the supply chain impacted. If your hub of your wheel is broken, your wheel can't turn. That's it.
That is a very great point. I don't know nothing about cars, but damn.
That's a bicycle wheel, the middle part that keeps it turning. Yes, but
I really don't know.
The point is, though, that we are seeing these losses at the hub, at a node, whatever word you want to use, the starting point. And if you dead before you get started, then everything that you touched in the past couple of years, all of that will be impacted. And so we know for certain that that's going to be the case, and we're bracing for it in Oregon. And I think as a business analyst, I'm bracing for the total, I don't want to say collapse, but there's going to be some extreme challenges because I already felt like flower shortages were there. Even in California, we experienced it last year as we were looking for opportunities in the wholesale market, and it was just difficult unless you wanted to go into the legacy or illegal market. Legal wholesale flower of quality was difficult to find in California last year and the last 2 years. So I can't imagine how this is going to make it better.
Well, you definitely put your finger on the point, because they've technically experienced wildfires. Every year is the worst wildfire ever. Basically, for the last 5-10 years, every year has been the worst wildfire. And they've always just, took a leaf blower and blown the plants off, do a little shimmy, do a little shake, throw some water on it, put that thing in the jar for their consumers. But now with a different color sky, with ashes being so thick, and people are noticing it, right? Like now it is getting national attention. So no, you can't just blow away the ash and put it in a jar now. So ultimately, that is something crazy. We don't know. And these cultivators, instead of saying, hey, we don't know how this is going to affect our harvest, are like trying to say, hey, that's just a myth. Nothing's going to happen. We've been doing this. It's fine.
Well, you know what? I am all for we've been doing, and there's a lot of what we've been doing that hasn't necessarily been the right thing either. So sometimes that is not really the best response. But I agree that, wildfire season is a season. The same way hurricane season is a season in Florida, right? So people prepare. We do not want to negate the expertise that has been. But let's be real. When we seen 3 hurricanes hit at the same time, experts are saying we never seen shit like this, right? And when we seen an orange sky, experts on that side were saying we've never seen shit like this. When we have wildfires, the amount of smoke that hit the sky, something happened in the chemical sense because we saw a change in color. I believe that wholeheartedly. A lot of people don't know why the sky is blue. Honey, I do. And when it's orange, it definitely means that something chemical, molecular is happening. And so I worry about the molecular level of the plant. It might look like it's fine, bud, but what's happening at the cannabinoid and flavonoid and terpene level? What's happening to those compounds? We really don't talk about it a lot, but 9/11 did just pass. We're from New York. I was working in Brooklyn at the time. People as far out as Brooklyn have had impact from the smoke. Now people say, oh, well, that was fuel, right? Mixed with steel and all this other stuff. But again, it didn't turn our sky orange, despite how long it was burning. Now it was, a bunch of soot, those people, by and large, if you were even touched with it, not just breathing, if you touched it, you have these various carcinogenic variables now. A lot of people have gotten cancer. So it is not like we don't even have precedent. We do. And so I just want to encourage everyone to be very, very, what I say, due diligence, right? Ask when you're going into dispensaries, is this sun grown? Is this indoor grown? Figure out what you should be asking these brands. They should all be talking about it. In California, we'll be talking more about their testing versus, say, Oregon. But just I am bringing this up to our Oregon Cannabis Commission and saying, hey, we should be concerned about things under an orange sky. And no, we cannot just blow it off. What does this mean for the market?
Absolutely. And thank you for your comments. And Kevin, you do make a good point. Products from licensed cultivators must pass testing. But we've reported in different seasons that these testing facilities kind of don't know what they're doing either. Even though they're testing for heavy metals, they're not even sure what some of the heavy metals in cannabis to begin with, even what products cultivators are using to make the THC levels rise. So when I want to believe in the testing systems, but this America, you just can't even do that. So Dasheeda always makes a great point. Grow your own. If you got closet space, shed space, garage space, you better set something up, honey.
This is true. I definitely think homegrown is important. And I'm a person who never, ever, I'll
kill
go
a
to
cactus.
I'll go to Whole Foods before, as soon as Whole Foods starts selling, cultivated cannabis, I'm there, because I'm not the grower. I'm not the green thumb in that way. But now I'm definitely concerned about what access is going to look like and what the market flower price is going to look like and the quality. And I want to just point out that to the comment that Kevin Bush made is really that testing is also, the requirements are different state to state. California has some of the most rigid testing requirements, just globally they do. They're the salad bowl of the United States, and they provide most of our green and leafy things. And so they also want to make sure things are organic and the like. And so they have that same requirement in the cannabis space on both the hemp and the marijuana side. And some people really complain about it being a barrier of entry, but as a person who wants my stuff to be of quality and be good as far as it being a patient, it makes sense. Now, again, do we know what we're testing for, and is it the right one, or are we making assumptions? On the flip side, Oregon has some more that they could probably be doing. And the things that the flower may be able to get away with in Oregon may not be in California. And then I want to also point out that when the West Coast is on fire, how does that impact the East Coast and the newer markets like Illinois that are coming into place? And how does that impact the legacy market? First of all, let me just let every plug in the world know that you need to stop saying that you got that Cali good, because guess what? Cali was under an orange sky. I would say that that's not a good marketing strategy. But then second, most of the legacy market illegal flower was coming out of Oregon. Real talk. We don't talk about it as much, but it is the case. You might be calling it Cali, but it's Oregon flower.
Okay.
And so you're going to see that shortage again. And so where is it going to come from? Is it going to be more coming from the East Coast? I'm just curious about that, because all of those market dynamics actually do impact the legal market. And it also impacts our criminality. It impacts our ability as people of color to access it as patients. You can create shortages in other markets because of the legacy market. So I think it's more complex than even, like you said, what we've laid out. And we're going to have to do a follow-up on how we're seeing it play out. But we already am predicting we're going to see price point hikes. There's going to be a real increase in the importance, of course, of indoor, but be careful, because you called it out. Indoor could have its challenges as well. And I think the East Coast flower market finally may actually get a little bit more shine.
Well, I am so glad you dropped that, Jules, because you are speaking straight up facts, sis. And it made me want to plug my new morning show for 10 minutes at 10, Blaze with Ice D in the morning. And we actually were having a discussion about some upcoming cannabis strains. And believe it or not, Massachusetts is on now. There, I got some fire strains coming out of there. Not literal fire, you guys, but some really dope, good strains coming out of there. They have something that I know you would appreciate called Durban. Uh, Wait, is it Poison Mimosa? Yes, it's the Durban Poison Cross with Mimosa. So it's Poison Mimosa. That's coming out of Massachusetts. So I can't wait to see some people get some genetics of that, because that might be some fire sativa, get some stuff done, especially because you are a cannabis cocktail. It's like they kind of took your cocktail and grew it.
Listen, that's what I want to, really, get people excited about, the genetics behind it. I love cannabis cocktails because I can play with the chemical profiles. That knowledge that I have, blessed because it makes my whole cannabis experience that much better. But yeah, you just calling my point. East Coast Fire is coming, and actually might get some shine. Which, let me just say, that gives me a little bit of side eye that every single mature market was on fire. We're going to have to handle that in our next one, because I want to talk a little bit about some of these conspiracy theories around how these fires got started outside of it being wildfire season.
Well, you might have to send them to me, because that I've seen some stuff on Instagram. Check out Blacklist XYZ. It is tells all the tea of the industry, and they're anonymous, so they could really tell the tea. We not anonymous, and so if you come for me, I'm gonna have to beat you up. So we can only do so many damn conspiracies up in here, if you know what I'm saying. But you're right. Check them out on Instagram. That's where I got a lot of my facts from. And thank you guys for joining us. D, where can they find you? We know you busy this week.
Oh my goodness. So we've been having a fast and furious run up a hill, getting ready for Q4 is around the corner. October is Q4. Everybody can find me, of course, at theweedhead.com, me and my company, which includes you. And you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at Dasheeda Dawson. So that's just me. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited, Ice. We have a really, really busy couple of weeks ahead, but this is part of the journey, the odyssey. And as always, I appreciate you bringing real tea and us dropping crazy jewels for folks while we're sipping.
Okay, you already know. And you can find me at She Blaze on Instagram and Facebook. I am doing my morning show at 10 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because it is real early and I'll be sending emails. And live. Also, you can listen to us anytime. And we also are doing a special episode on Get Your Civic Life Sesh coming up. So make sure you mark your calendars for that, because we're going to drop some information, and our big sis Imani Dawson will be joining us. So you'll have all the Dawson girls really trying to get your advocacy life together, because we come from it. And it's going to be real fun. So thank you guys for joining us. Listen to us anytime on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, everywhere.
Yes. Well, have a great week, and bye, sis.
Bye.